By the Great Nebula, what in the name of all 7 moons just happened? Chief Observer Klixx's antenna twitched frantically as warning lights flooded the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Starseeker with an ominous crimson glow. The massive ship shuddered, its quantum engines sputtering like a dying star. Engineering Officer Raxon's crystalline exoskeleton clinked nervously as their multiple appendages danced across the holographic control interface. Chief, the primary quantum matrix is experiencing. Well, this can't be right. They paused, compound eyes blinking in rapid succession. It's experiencing what our systems classify as a temporal hiccup. A temporal what now? Klixx demanded, their normally composed diplomatic demeanor cracking like thin ice. We're barely at the edge of the Sol system. This is supposed to be our first official contact with these. These humans, do you know how many cycles of preparation went into this mission? Approximately 2,749 cycles, Chief Raxon replied automatically, still focused on the rapidly deteriorating readings. But right now we have a more pressing concern. The hiccup is spreading to our secondary systems, and a violent tremor rocked the ship, sending several crew members tumbling across the deck. And we're losing stability in our quantum core. Through the ship's panoramic viewport, the blue marble of Earth hung suspended in the void, tantalizingly close yet now potentially unreachable. The irony wasn't lost on Klixx. Their mission to establish diplomatic relations with humanity might end with them becoming space debris in the humans' backyard. Can we at least send a distress signal? Klixx asked, trying to maintain some semblance of control over the situation. Already done, Chief. But Raxon's voice trailed off as an unexpected response crackled through their communication array. Unidentified vessel, this is Earth Space Traffic Control, Station Alpha. We're picking up some weird energy signatures from your direction. Everything okay up there? The casual tone of the human operator caught both aliens off guard. Klixx and Raxon exchanged glances, or whatever passed for glances, between a tentacled diplomat and a crystalline engineer. Earth Space Traffic Control, Klixx responded, carefully enunciating each word in the recently learned human English. This is the Galactic Confederation diplomatic vessel Starseeker. We are experiencing what our engineer describes as a temporal hiccup. There was a pause, then a laugh. A temporal hiccup? Well, that's a new one. Look, your ship's energy signature is going crazy on our screens. Want us to send up some of our wizards to take a look? Wizards, Raxon whispered to Klixx. Chief, according to our cultural database, wizards are mythological practitioners of impossible feats called magic. Surely they're not suggesting. Another violent shudder interrupted Raxon's confusion. Warning sirens blared louder, and the ship's artificial gravity flickered ominously. Earth Control, Klixx responded, desperation creeping into their voice. We accept any assistance you can provide. Our situation is becoming rather urgent. Roger that, Starseeker. Hang tight. The wizards are on their way. As the Starseeker limped toward Earth's orbital station, Klixx couldn't help but feel a growing sense of dread. Their pristine diplomatic vessel, the pride of the Confederation fleet, was about to dock with what appeared to be, at least to their advanced sensors, little more than a collection of metal tubes held together by crude welds. And were those actual rivets? Chief Raxon reported, their crystalline form reflecting the emergency lights in a disco ball effect that would have been amusing under different circumstances. The humans are directing us to what they call Bay 6, but these readings can't be correct. They're suggesting we dock with magnetic clamps. Magnetic clamps. Klixx's tentacles curled in horror. Like some kind of primitive cargo hauler? This vessel cost more than the combined GDP of 3 solar systems. The human traffic controller's voice crackled through again. Starseeker, please maintain your current trajectory. Commander Martinez is standing by to receive you. And you might want to power down your fancy quantum, whatever it is, before it goes boom. Just saying. The casual mention of their advanced technology going boom sent another wave of anxiety through the alien crew. With no other choice, they followed the humans' instructions, watching in trepidation as their ship was gradually pulled into the docking bay by technology that belonged in a museum. The airlock cycled with a hiss that sounded far too analog for comfort, and Station Commander Lisa Martinez stepped through. She was tall for a human, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun and a permanent half-smile that suggested she'd seen enough weird stuff that nothing fazed her anymore. Her uniform bore patches that Klixx's translator struggled with something about NASA and ESA and what appeared to be a cartoon wizard holding a wrench. "Welcome to Station Alpha," Martinez announced, extending a hand before quickly withdrawing it as she remembered the aliens' different customs. "Sorry about the basic accommodations. We weren't expecting guests for another week, but hey, quantum emergencies wait for no one, right?" Commander Klixx began, trying to maintain diplomatic dignity despite their current predicament. "We appreciate your assistance, but I must express concern about your station's technological capabilities. Our ship requires extremely advanced—" "Let me guess," Martinez interrupted, that half-smile growing into a full grin. "You're worried because we're still using good old-fashioned steel and titanium instead of whatever fancy alloys you've got up there. And you probably noticed our magnetic docking system and thought we were one step above using string and duct tape, right?" Raxon made a sound that might have been a cough. "Well, Commander, given that our quantum core is experiencing unprecedented temporal fluctuations, we require rather sophisticated—" "Listen," Martinez cut in again, pulling out what looked like an ancient tablet computer. "I've got 3 of our best wizards already looking at your energy readings. They're fascinated, by the way. Something about your quantum matrix trying to fold space-time into a pretzel. They haven't been this excited since that black hole almost formed in the coffee maker last month." Klixx and Raxon exchanged alarmed looks. "A black hole in a coffee maker?" "Oh yeah," Martinez chuckled, leading them toward what she called engineering central wait till you meet our team. "They've got this saying here, any sufficiently advanced engineering is indistinguishable from pure chaos. You're about to see why." For the first time in their distinguished career, Chief Observer Klixx felt a creeping suspicion that perhaps they had underestimated these humans. The situation in Engineering Central quickly devolved from concerning to catastrophic. Raxon's crystalline form had shifted to a sickly pale blue, a clear sign of distress among their species as they stared at the readings from the Starseeker's quantum core. "This defies all known physics," Raxon exclaimed, their multiple appendages gesturing wildly at the holographic displays they'd set up. "The temporal cascade is accelerating exponentially. According to these calculations, we're experiencing time at 17 different rates simultaneously." Commander Martinez peered at the swirling holographic data, casually sipping from a container labeled, "Don't try this at home, engineering brew 17 different time streams." "That's new. Usually we only deal with 5 or 6 at most." Klixx's tentacles writhed in agitation. "Usually? You mean this has happened before?" "Well, not exactly like this," Martinez shrugged. "Last time it was more of a space-time pretzel situation. This looks more like a temporal croissant with extra-dimensional butter." The alien engineers they'd brought along, the finest minds in the Confederation, huddled in a corner, their various appendages and sensory organs twitching in shared confusion. One of them, Senior Engineer Plex, approached Klixx with what passed for a dejected expression on their gelatinous face. Chief Observer Plex burbled, "We've tried every standard procedure in the manual. We've even tried the non-standard procedures. Nothing works. It's as if the laws of physics are having a party and didn't invite us." A thunderous boom echoed through the station, followed by a series of smaller vibrations. The Starseeker's quantum core was visible through the observation window, pulsing with colors that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime. "Oh, that's not good," Martinez muttered, setting down her drink. "Your ship's core is starting to hiccup in sync with our station's harmonic frequency. If we don't stabilize it soon." She made an explosive gesture with her hands, complete with sound effects. But how, Klixx demanded, their diplomatic composure completely abandoned. "Our finest engineers can't even understand what's happening, let alone fix it." Martinez tapped her communication badge. "Control, this is Commander Martinez. Send in the wizards, all of them. Tell them to bring the box." The alien crew froze. "The box?" Raxon asked hesitantly. "Trust me, you don't want to know what's in the box," Martinez replied with a mysterious smile. "But our wizards never leave home without it." Through the station's corridors, they could hear the approaching chaos, a cacophony of wheels squeaking, tools rattling, and excited human voices discussing theories that sounded more like creative writing than science. Chief Raxon whispered to Klixx, I've been analyzing human engineering protocols. They don't follow any logical pattern. Their solutions often involve materials and methods that should never work together. It's as if they're making it up as they go along. Another boom rocked the station. Through the window, the quantum core now resembled a disco ball designed by a mathematician having an existential crisis. Colors shifted and swirled, occasionally forming impossible shapes that hurt to look at. Parameters are off the charts, Klixx announced, their gelatinous form quivering. The core is now operating in what we can only describe as imaginary time. Imaginary time. Klixx's translator struggled with the concept. How can time be imaginary? Oh boy, Martinez grinned, looking at something behind them. Just wait till you see what our wizards do with imaginary numbers. The doors to Engineering Central burst open. A team of humans rushed in, pushing what looked like a massive toolbox covered in warning labels, scratches, and most worryingly scorch marks. Leading them was a wild-haired woman in oil-stained coveralls, her safety goggles pushed up on her forehead, and a tool belt that appeared to contain everything from quantum analyzers to what looked suspiciously like a rubber chicken. So she announced, cracking her knuckles with a grin that would have made a mad scientist proud, "I hear you've got a quantum core that's trying to turn itself into a Klein bottle? Always wanted to try fixing one of those." Klixx and Raxon watched in mounting horror as the humans began unloading their equipment. Whatever was about to happen, they had a feeling it would either be brilliant or catastrophic. Possibly both. The wild-haired woman introduced herself as Chief Engineer Marcus Chen, though she insisted everyone call her Spark, a nickname earned after an incident involving 3 capacitors, a toaster, and what she cryptically referred to as the Wednesday that never was. Right then, Spark announced, spreading out what looked like actual paper blueprints on a table. "Team, we've got ourselves a quantum pretzel with a side of temporal spaghetti. Ryan, break out the quantum flux meter. Jamie, get the percussive maintenance toolkit ready. And somebody find Mike, we're gonna need his lucky rubber chicken." The alien observers watched in mounting disbelief as Spark's team sprang into action. Ryan, a lanky engineer with more pockets than seemed physically possible on one set of coveralls, pulled out a device that appeared to be held together with. Was that adhesive tape? "That can't be regulation equipment," Raxon whispered to Klixx. "They've modified it with. Are those paper clips?" "Hey, paper clips are holding half the universe together," Ryan called out cheerfully, not even turning around. Never underestimate the power of office supplies in quantum mechanics. Jamie, a stocky engineer with arms like tree trunks, approached the quantum core viewing window with what looked like a selection of hammers. "Boss, which resonance frequency should I start with? The gentle tap or the full Thor?" "Start gentle," Spark replied, scribbling equations on the blueprints. "We don't want a repeat of the black hole coffee maker incident." That was one time someone shouted from across the room. Mike finally appeared, clutching both a rubber chicken and what appeared to be a roll of silver tape. The aliens watched in horror as he began measuring lengths of the tape against the chicken with intense concentration. "Excuse me," Klixx interrupted, tentacles waving in distress, "but what exactly are you planning to do with those items?" "Oh," this Mike held up the chicken. "This baby's got a perfect quantum resonance frequency. And the duct tape? Well, that's just basic engineering. If it moves and shouldn't duct tape. If it doesn't move and should WD-40. Which we're also going to need," Spark added, not looking up from her calculations. "The quantum kind." The aliens' universal translators struggled to process this exchange. Surely something was being lost in translation. These humans couldn't possibly be suggesting. A massive tremor shook the station. Through the observation window, the quantum core had begun to spin in directions that shouldn't exist in 3-dimensional space. "Well, that's new," Spark commented, finally looking up. "All right, team, time for some percussive maintenance. Jamie, give it the Thor treatment. Ryan, I need that flux meter calibrated to pick up tachyons, anti-tachyons, and whatever those purple things are. Mike, start applying the quantum-grade duct tape in a Fibonacci spiral. Remember, folks, we're not just breaking the laws of physics here, we're negotiating with them." Commander Martinez leaned against a wall, still sipping her mysterious engineering brew, watching the aliens' reactions with obvious amusement. You might want to take notes, she suggested to the dumbfounded alien engineers. This is where it gets good. The humans moved with practiced chaos. Ryan's modified flux meter began emitting a series of beeps that somehow seemed to follow the tune of an ancient Earth song called Stayin' Alive. Jamie's hammering created a counterpoint rhythm that, impossibly, appeared to be stabilizing the quantum fluctuations. But that's not how quantum mechanics works, Klixx protested, their gelatinous form rippling in confusion. Says who Spark called back, now wearing what appeared to be welding goggles decorated with happy faces. The universe? Ha! The universe loves a good workaround. Watch this. She produced a device that looked like it had been assembled from parts of a microwave, 3 game consoles, and possibly a lawnmower. The alien sensors couldn't even begin to classify it. We call this beauty the quantum harmonizer, she explained proudly. Built it last week from spare parts, and that weird crystal thing we found in the station's recycling unit. Not sure how it works, but it hasn't blown up yet. Yet Klixx's translator squeaked. Progress isn't made by being cautious, Spark declared, firing up the device. It emitted a sound that could only be described as a quantum hiccup. Now, who's ready to see some real engineering magic? The alien observers huddled together, watching in equal parts horror and fascination as the human engineers continued their incomprehensible work. Whatever was about to happen, they had a feeling it would rewrite several textbooks, assuming anyone would believe their report. The next 30 minutes in Engineering Central could only be described as organized chaos if chaos had taken a master class in improvisation and graduated with honors. Spark's team moved with the precision of a well-rehearsed dance troupe, if that dance troupe was performing while juggling antimatter. Okay, people, Phase 1, Spark shouted, her hair now defying gravity thanks to the quantum static. Ryan, how's that flux meter reading? Ryan held up the jury-rigged device, which now sported a small potted plant for reasons no one had explained. We're registering fluctuations in the mega-weird range, boss. The quantum core is trying to exist in 23 dimensions at once. Only 23, Spark grinned. Amateur numbers. Let's pump those up. Mike, commence Operation Rubber Chicken. Mike saluted with the rubber chicken, which had been wrapped in quantum-grade duct tape in a pattern that made the alien mathematician's brains hurt. He began swinging it in precise arcs, matching the core's temporal frequency. Klixx turned to their fellow alien engineers, voice bubbling with distress. Are you recording this? Please tell me you're recording this. No one back home will believe us otherwise. I'm recording, another engineer responded weakly, but I'm not sure our equipment can capture all the dimensions they're working in. The quantum core pulsed with increasing intensity, sending waves of probability cascading through the station. In one corner, a coffee cup briefly existed in all possible states simultaneously, including one where it had evolved sentience and was contemplating a career in interpretive dance. Jamie Spark called out, "We need that harmonic resonance now. Give it the full Thor treatment." Jamie approached the core housing with what looked like a hammer that had been modified with parts from a smartphone, 3 LED lights, and what appeared to be a car battery, playing quantum mechanics Rhapsody in D minor. They announced, before beginning a surprisingly melodic series of strikes against specific points of the housing. Commander Martinez watched the proceedings while making notes on her tablet. You might want to brace yourselves, she advised the aliens casually. This is usually when things get weird. Usually Klixx's tentacles curled in alarm. You mean this is a regular occurrence? Oh no, Martinez laughed. This is completely new. Usually it's much stranger. The human engineers had now formed a rough circle around the quantum core viewing window. Mike was still swinging the duct-taped rubber chicken, which was now emitting a soft blue glow. Ryan's flux meter had started playing what he claimed was the quantum harmony of the spheres, through a speaker that looked suspiciously like it came from a child's toy. Chief Raxon reported, their crystalline form reflecting the chaos in fractal patterns. According to our sensors, they're actually affecting the quantum field. But their methods, they're using a combination of technologies that shouldn't work together. That's the secret, Spark shouted over the growing quantum resonance. Everything works together if you're brave enough. Jamie increased the percussive frequency by 17%. Mike, swing that chicken counterclockwise. We need to match the temporal spin. The aliens watched in fascination as Spark pulled more items from the box, a collection of household electronics, what looked like holiday lights, and something she called a quantum probability enhancer that was quite clearly a modified toaster. The quantum core's dimensional state is starting to stabilize, Ryan reported, checking his plant-enhanced flux meter. We're down to only 15 simultaneous dimensions. Not good enough, Spark declared. She reached into her seemingly bottomless tool belt and pulled out a handful of small devices. Time to break out the big guns, quantum tuning forks. Quantum, what? Klixx asked, but their question was drowned out by the sudden harmonic resonance as the team activated their tuning forks in sequence. The sound that filled Engineering Central was impossible to describe in any known language. It was as if someone had taken every symphony ever written, converted them to quantum frequencies, and played them through a speaker made of probability waves. The quantum core's erratic pulsing began to slow, matching the rhythm of the combined harmonics. The impossible colors started to fade, replacing themselves with merely improbable ones. "It's working," Ryan shouted. "Dimensional collapse is stabilizing. We're approaching normal spacetime." "Not yet," Spark warned, her eyes fixed on readings that only she seemed to understand. "We've got one shot at this. If we don't get the resonance exactly right, the core could collapse into a singularity." The tension in the room was palpable. The alien observers had given up trying to understand what they were seeing and were simply watching in mute amazement as the humans orchestrated their impossible symphony of quantum mechanics. On my mark, Spark raised her hand, holding what appeared to be a universal TV remote that had been modified with parts from a game console and a microwave. 3, 2. The fate of the Star Seeker and possibly a good chunk of local spacetime hung in the balance as Spark prepared to initiate their final, desperate gambit. The aliens held their breath, those that had breath to hold, watching as human ingenuity prepared to either save the day or create a very localized apocalypse. Now Spark pressed the button on her modified remote. The device sparked, sputtered, and began playing what sounded suspiciously like the theme from Mission Impossible. Everything happened at once. Mike's quantum-wrapped rubber chicken reached peak resonance, glowing with the intensity of a small sun. Jamie's percussion symphony hit its crescendo, sending harmonics rippling through spacetime. Ryan's plant-enhanced flux meter burst into a shower of sparkles, and the potted plant briefly achieved enlightenment. The quantum core pulsed once, twice, then seemed to hiccup in 4 dimensions simultaneously. There was a sound like reality clearing its throat, and suddenly, impossibly, everything stabilized. "Core quantum state nominal," Ryan announced, checking readings on what looked like a Game Boy fused with a calculator. "We're back to standard 3-dimensional space, plus or minus 0.5%. 0.5, Spark grinned, powering down her remote. "That's within acceptable parameters. Good work, team. Someone get Mike's chicken to the cool-down chamber before it achieves sentience again." The alien observers stood in stunned silence, their various sensory organs trying to process what they'd just witnessed. Raxon's crystalline form had frozen in mid-twitch, creating an interesting prismatic effect in the now normal lighting. But how Klixx finally managed to burble. "You used a rubber chicken, duct tape, and modified Earth electronics to solve a quantum engineering crisis that our finest minds couldn't comprehend." "Don't forget the potted plant," Ryan added helpfully, patting the now non-enlightened greenery. "The quantum harmonic properties of photosynthesis really helped stabilize those extra dimensions." The solution was simple, really, Spark explained, wiping quantum residue off her goggles. "Your core was trying to exist in too many dimensions because it couldn't find its way back to base reality. So we created a quantum lighthouse of sorts, using the rubber chicken as a probability anchor, the duct tape as a dimensional binding agent, and Jamie's percussion as a space-time tuning fork." Commander Martinez stepped forward, noting the aliens' bewildered expressions. "You're wondering how they knew this would work, aren't you?" "We didn't," Spark replied cheerfully. "But that's the beauty of human engineering. Sometimes you have to convince the laws of physics that your solution is so ridiculous it loops back around to being brilliant." Klixx's tentacles waved in what might have been surrender or profound revelation. Our engineers work with quantum probability matrices and multidimensional calibrations. And we work with whatever's in the box, Mike interjected, carefully storing the slightly smoking rubber chicken. Plus about 300 years of humans finding weird solutions to impossible problems. Did you know the first human space programs used slide rules? Actual physical sliding pieces of material to calculate orbital mechanics. The alien engineering team huddled together, frantically comparing notes on their data tablets. Everything they'd just witnessed defied their understanding of physics, engineering, and basic reality. Yet the proof was right there. The Starseeker's quantum core hummed peacefully in its housing, all 23 dimensions neatly folded back into normal space-time. I think I understand now, Raxon said slowly, their crystalline form shifting to a thoughtful blue hue. You humans don't just solve engineering problems. You negotiate with reality itself. And sometimes, Spark added with a wink, reality is so surprised by our audacity that it decides to play along. Commander Martinez raised her ever-present engineering brew in a toast to human ingenuity, because sometimes the best solution is the one that shouldn't work, but does anyway. The alien observers could only nod in agreement, already dreading having to explain this in their official reports. 3 days later, as the Starseeker prepared for departure, Chief Observer Klixx and Engineering Officer Raxon found themselves in Station Alpha's recreation room, sharing what humans called pizza with the engineering team. So Klixx said, watching Spark try to explain quantum mechanics using pepperoni slices, now we understand why you call them wizards. Because they break the laws of physics, Commander Martinez asked, amused. No, Raxon replied, their crystalline form now decorated with a small rubber chicken pendant. Because they make the impossible possible, then act like it's just another Tuesday. Speaking of which, Mike chimed in, has anyone seen my quantum-grade duct tape? The coffee maker is trying to achieve sentience again. Before anyone could respond, a loud clang echoed through the station, followed by what sounded suspiciously like Klixx attempting percussive maintenance on a control panel. Should we be concerned? Klixx asked, tentacles twitching nervously. Nah, Spark grinned. Sounds like your engineers are learning. Though somebody might want to tell them that the rubber chicken needs quantum wrapping before it can bend probability. Commander Martinez checked her tablet. According to the station's logs, they've already requisitioned 3 rolls of duct tape, a toaster, and something they're calling a quantum probability enhancer Mark II. It's a waffle iron, Ryan Stage whispered. As if to punctuate the moment, another clang rang out, followed by Klixx's excited burbling by the great nebula. It worked. Klixx and Raxon exchanged glances. Their mission to study human culture had certainly yielded unexpected results. The Confederation's engineering manual would never be the same. You know, Spark said, raising her mug of engineering brew, there's an old saying among human engineers, any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from a really good trick. To the wizards, Klixx toasted, raising their own beverage. May they never stop surprising the universe. Somewhere in the station, a rubber chicken glowed faintly, and reality itself smiled.